My rented girlfriend is excessively cute. At a college reunion, I planned to rent a girlfriend just to get by, but unexpectedly I ended up with an ice-cold female CEO. I thought she would be a distant, elegant beauty, but after getting married, I discovered she is actually so cute. 1. Renting an Ice Queen CEO. Old classmate, you really need to come to this reunion. We've got to drink a few together. I'd love to, but my job doesn't allow it, I'm afraid. Come on. You were the only one who didn't show up last time. Yeah, I feel bad about that, but I have no choice, life has to go on. You're not avoiding Yuhong, are you? No way. We broke up years ago. I have a girlfriend now, so there's nothing to fear. You have a girlfriend? Oh yeah, I've had one for a while. I thought you weren't coming because of Yuhong. Since you have a girlfriend, you've got to bring her to the reunion. But my job. Forget that, our friendship is more important. Well. It's settled. Reunion, 8 p.m., Xinghong Hotel. Don't be late. All right. Great. I want to keep you. Good luck with work. Thanks. After hanging up, Ma Qing's smile vanished. The adult world is complex. Unlike children who express their feelings openly, adults must hide their emotions to avoid awkwardness and conflict. After all, it's better to have friends than enemies, even if you dislike the friend. It's all about being smooth and adaptable. Forced smiles can be exhausting, and Ma Qing felt drained as his phone slipped from his hand. Gazing at the starry sky, memories of a past relationship surfaced. She had taken half his life. 21 days. 3 months and 21 days. 5 years, 3 months, and 21 days. It had been so long since they broke up. Her beautiful face dimmed the stars around it. Ma Qing shook off the thoughts he couldn't face that haunting image anymore. That night, he couldn't sleep, not because of her, but because he didn't have a girlfriend for the reunion. He had to think fast. He couldn't just show up alone. He needed someone impressive to bring along, but imagining anyone more perfect than Yuhong was impossible. Desperate, he browsed the internet and discovered a Rent a Girlfriend app. An idea sparked. Why not rent a girlfriend? He downloaded the app and searched for high-priced options, believing that more expensive means better quality. As he browsed through beautiful faces, he felt satisfied, even if he wasn't a huge fan of influencer looks. They fit the modern aesthetic, making for a respectable +1. However, the price was steep, 500 per hour. Ma Qing hesitated but decided to proceed. The conversation with a potential girlfriend revolved around whether her photos were accurate. Her assurance that she didn't photograph well and was willing to meet offline made him feel optimistic. He paid a small deposit, arranged a meeting, and finally drifted off to sleep. The next day, at exactly 7 a.m., Ma Qing arrived at the Starbucks on Walking Street, the meeting place with the beautiful woman. He stepped inside, noticing the lack of customers and the tired barista yawning behind the counter. Scanning the cafe, he spotted a woman in professional attire by the window. She must be the one. As he approached, he sensed something unique about her, despite not yet seeing her face. There was an air of cold elegance about her. Her flawless skin and delicate neck, with a few strands of hair cascading down, created an enchanting beauty, especially when she tucked her hair behind her ear. Suddenly, Ma Qing felt a rush of nerves. Since breaking up with his ex, Yuhong, no woman had stirred such emotions in him. He gathered himself and said, "Hi, are you?" But as soon as he saw her face, he was taken aback, his words dying on his lips as he gasped. She was stunning, delicate features, alluring curves, but with icy, detached eyes. Ma Qing had thought Yuhong was the most beautiful, but now he was witnessing someone even more captivating. The woman glanced at her watch and coldly remarked, "You're half an hour late." Wait, what? I thought we agreed on 7. Before he could process this, she stood up, grabbed her purse, and said, "Let us go." With that, she strode out. Where are we going? Ma Qing called after her, but she didn't reply. The bell on the door jingled as she left. He hurried after her, asking again, "Where to?" With a disdainful look, she shot him a glance, silently conveying a message: less chatter. Realizing it was best to stay quiet, he followed her. They walked in silence, the only sounds being the morning bustle around them and the rhythmic click of her heels in elegant melody. Ma Qing stole a glance at her long legs, incredulous at how anyone could possess such beauty. Coffee cleared his throat, nervously commenting, "Your platform is quite professional." She gave him a confused look but remained silent. About the payment he started awkwardly. Let us discuss it later, she replied coldly. Okay, he nodded. She led him into a mall and hooked her arm through his, making him tense up instantly. Relax, she said. All right, he stammered, feeling the weight of onlookers' gazes. The attention made him more anxious, and he felt like he could hardly breathe, his body stiff with tension. But when they reached the fourth floor, he suddenly relaxed. He spotted Yu Hong, the woman who had once taken half his life. 2. When the deal backfires, it turns into a profit. On the fourth floor, Ma Qing spotted Yu Hong, who was shopping across from him. Dressed in a fitted red chapeau, her figure was accentuated beautifully, and her red lips made her look irresistibly alluring. She was with a middle-aged woman, clearly enjoying a day out. Seeing Yu Hong made Ma Qing freeze in shock. It had been 5 years, and he never expected to encounter her here. Despite their breakup, he couldn't deny she looked even more beautiful, her youthful innocence replaced by a sophisticated charm. Just act natural, his companion, the cold woman beside him, advised, her gaze fixed on the older woman with Yu Hong. Got it, Ma Qing replied, walking towards them. When they finally met, Yu Hong looked startled at first, her expression shifting to one of complexity. The middle-aged woman also seemed taken aback, her smile fading as she registered Ma Qing as companion. Long time no see, Ma Qing said lightly. Yeah, Yu Hong replied, glancing at the woman with him. And this is? Oh, Ma Qing feigned realization, I forgot to introduce her. This is my girlfriend. He pulled the woman closer, embracing her shoulder affectionately. Yu Hong smiled at the woman, commenting, she's pretty. Pretty doesn't he count? Ma Qing turned to his companion, gazing adoringly, I'm the one who says she's beautiful. Yu Hong's eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of jealousy creeping in. Ma Qing noticed her discomfort, feeling a sense of satisfaction. His intention was to provoke her. The older woman beside Yu Hong looked surprised and turned to Ma Qing. Liu Yi, what's going on? I told you I have a boyfriend, Liu Yi replied coldly. Then she pulled away from Ma Qing, adding, let me introduce you, this is my mother. Ma Qing, taken aback, managed a smile, hello, auntie. The older woman eyed him, clearly displeased. Liu Yi took Ma Qing's arm again, saying, we have to go. Nice to see you. They walked away without further ado, leaving Ma Qing feeling a mix of triumph and confusion. Once they were far enough, Liu Yi released him, returning to a more formal distance. Ma Qing was pleased with how things went. He had successfully evoked Yu Hong's reaction while keeping the encounter brief and to the point. How do we settle payment? Ma Qing asked. Liu Yi stopped, pulling out a stack of cash, about 5,000 yuan. What's this? Ma Qing blinked in surprise. Aren't you supposed to take my money? You overplayed your part, she replied coolly. Since it's our first collaboration, I won't charge you this time, but be more careful next time. With that, she strutted off, leaving Ma Qing dumbfounded with the cash in hand. What just happened? Who was renting whom? On their way home, Ma Qing mulled over the events. He remembered their agreed time of 7, yet she claimed he was late. Shopping seemed unnecessary. The purpose was simply to evaluate each other's appearance and discuss rates. And meeting Yu Hong and Liu Yi's mother felt too coincidental, as if it had been orchestrated. Rubbing his head, he sensed something was off but couldn't pinpoint it. Once home, he opened his phone to find a flood of notifications from various apps. Early morning, 6:40 a.m. Sorry, I'm stuck in traffic. I might be a few minutes late. 7:21 a.m. I've arrived. What are you wearing? 8 a.m. Where are you? 8:15 a.m. Are you there? Ma Qing stared at his phone, his expression darkening. He realized he had mistaken the whole situation. He had intended to rent someone but ended up being the one rented. He hadn't secured a girlfriend for the reunion tomorrow, but at least he pocketed 5,000 yuan. Sighing, he thought about how to rectify the mix-up. Opening the rental app again, he suddenly felt a chill. Yu Hong now knew what his girlfriend looked like. If he brought someone else tomorrow, his cover would be blown. Cursing under his breath, he panicked, wondering how to resolve this. Meanwhile, Liu Yi returned home, tossing her jacket into the trash. Her severe cleanliness made it impossible to keep anything that bore Ma Qing's scent. She showered, and while drying her hair, noticed numerous missed calls from her friend, Emailu. Sitting on the couch, she called back. What s up? I was worried sick. Why did it take you so long to reply? Emily exclaimed. Silent mode, Liu replied coolly. I arranged that guy for you, but he was late due to traffic. Yeah, I know, Liu said lazily. How do you know? Emily asked, puzzled. He told me, Liu replied. But he said you were gone by the time he got to the cafe. Liu froze, her mind racing. If he wasn't either one Emily arranged, then who was he? She recalled how he seemed to recognize Yu Hong when they met. Liu, what do we do? Your mom is pushing you to get married. Should I set up another time? Emily pressed. Sure, Liu replied absently. Just make sure your phone isn't on silent next time. Emily added. Got it. As Liu was about to hang up, she paused. Wait. What s up? Emily asked. I brought a guy to meet my mom today. What? Who? Emily gasped. I don't know, Liu said. What do you mean? You can't just bring anyone to meet her. Emily exclaimed. I thought he was the one you set me up with, Liu explained. Seriously? I matched you with a handsome guy. What kind of monster did you bring? He was decent looking, or I wouldn't have taken him, Liu sighed. What now? Do you have his contact info? Emily asked. No, Liu replied. What if you need to change guys? You can't just keep swapping them. Emily said. Liu rubbed her temples, feeling a headache coming on. Let's just leave it for now and figure it out later. A new day. The sun streamed through their window, illuminating Ma Qing's phone as it rang with a familiar tune. Come on, it's your old classmate. Don't forget about tonight's reunion. At the mention of the gathering, Ma Qing jolted awake, his sleep vanished in an instant. I might, he stammered. Everyone's counting on you. Don't flake out. The call ended, leaving Ma Qing feeling drained. He had barely slept, tossing and turning until 4 in the morning. Now, at 6, he was wide awake and anxious about finding someone to bring to the reunion. Feeling overwhelmed, he rubbed his hair into a mess, frustration mounting. 7 a.m. After a quick wash, he headed to work at Wanxing Group, where he had climbed the ranks to sales manager after years of hard work. Entering the office, he was greeted with nods and morning, Manager Ma. He returned the pleasantries while stifling yawns. Once settled at his desk, he sighed, loosening his tie. Just then, his old college buddy Wang Lei barged in. Hey, Qing! Wang exclaimed. Knock first. Ma Qing snapped, still groggy. Wow, you look rough. Bad night? Didn't he sleep well? Ma Qing replied, trying to keep his annoyance in check. I heard you're going to the reunion tonight. Bringing a girlfriend? Wang asked, his tone teasing. Can you not bring that up? Ma Qing shot back, irritated. Why not let my wife set you up with a friend? Wang suggested. Ma Qing sighed, recalling how Yu Hong had seen his last date, and shook his head. No thanks. Come on, are you scared she won't be as pretty as Yu Hong? She looked stunning at last year's reunion. Wang laughed, clearly enjoying himself. Get out, Ma Qing pushed him away, exasperated. Wait, I have something important. Wang insisted, suddenly serious. Yeah, right, Ma Qing retorted skeptically. I was late, and they are going to dock my pay. Help a buddy out. Wang's expression was pleading. Late? That's on you, Ma Qing replied, unimpressed. Please, you can't let my kid go hungry. Wang pressed. Wang, that's not my problem, Ma Qing said firmly. Seeing his determination, Wang slid a contract across the desk. Look, I sold a couple of villas. Seriously? Ma Qing raised an eyebrow. This has nothing to do with me. Fuming, he stormed toward the finance department. Upon entering, he confronted Xiao Song, the finance officer. What's going on with Wang's tardiness? Ma, this is the 6th time this month you've come to me about this. Xiao said, looking defeated. Just let it go, Ma Qing replied, lighting a cigarette. Really, I can't this time. The new president is cracking down on attendance, Xiao pleaded. Are you kidding? They only care about attendance now, not sales. Ma Qing countered. Don't make this harder for me. I'll pay out of my pocket if it helps. Xiao suggested desperately. Fine. Just change it to my tardiness. If anyone else getting docked, it should be me, Ma Qing replied, smirking. Xiao's face fell, clearly unhappy with the arrangement. Just then, Xiao Song's posture stiffened as he noticed something behind Ma Qing. Liu, President Liu, he said, his tone suddenly respectful. As Xiao spoke, a faint scent wafted through the office, and the sound of high heels echoed closer. Liu Yi approached, her presence commanding. Have you finished the report I asked for yesterday? She asked, her voice neutral. Xiao Song quickly handed over the prepared document. Yes, it's ready. He stood rigidly, not daring to lift his head. Ma Qing was frozen, dumbfounded. He had heard rumors about a new president joining the company, but he never expected the woman he met just yesterday, Liu Yi, would be his superior. Sensing Ma Qing's shock, Xiao Song discreetly nudged him, whispering, "Ma, come on, greet her." Finally snapping out of his daze, Ma Qing stammered, "Yesterday." Before he could finish, Liu Yi set the report down and turned her icy gaze on him. "You're Ma Qing." Oh, he was taken aback, wondering why she seemed to have forgotten their brief encounter. Liu Yi glanced at Xiao Song, her expression unreadable. As for the record of his tardiness, let it slide. Ma Qing felt a wave of relief and smiled. Perhaps their previous meeting had made an impression. But Liu Yi's next words froze his grin in place. Deduct his pay. Double it. Xiao Song glanced at Ma Qing, his eyes saying what words couldn't. Sorry, man. You crossed the new boss. But that wasn't all. Liu Yi casually eyed the cigarette Ma Qing held. You know smoking isn't allowed in the office, right? Ma Qing was at a loss. Seems you do know, she replied coldly. This is willful disregard. Double the deduction. Xiao Song, make a note. Yes, President Liu, Xiao Song replied, glancing at Ma Qing with a sympathetic sigh. Just like that, 1,000 yuan vanished from Ma Qing's salary due to Liu Yi's swift, unyielding commands. Come to my office, she instructed, turning on her heel and striding away. Ma Qing stood there, bewildered. He hadn't even had a chance to defend himself. Liu Yi's no-nonsense demeanor left him speechless, and he recalled their earlier encounter, how they had misidentified each other. Xiao Song looked at Ma Qing with pity, offering a cautionary word. Be careful, this President Liu has a fierce temper. As a veteran employee of Wanqing Group, Ma Qing had frequently entered the president's office. However, this was his first time in Liu Yi's office since she took over. Unlike the previous president's office, Liu Yi's space was starkly minimalist, dominated by black and white tones. The decor exuded a strong sense of technology, with no unnecessary decorations. It felt devoid of any feminine touch, mirroring her icy gaze, cold and robotic. While Ma Qing was still taking in the office's design, Liu Yi moved to the window and smoothly drew the curtains, casting a faint veil over the room. Ma Qing was taken aback, confused about her intent. Approaching him in her elegant high heels, Liu Yi said flatly, "You must keep your mouth shut." Why? Ma Qing asked, puzzled. Because without warning, she seized his arm and executed a flawless shoulder throw, sending him crashing to the ground. Ma Qing, completely unprepared, was astonished that such a graceful woman could pull off such a move. How could someone so poised know martial arts instead of more traditional skills? As he hit the floor with a thud, Liu Yi pinned his arm with her knee, exerting pressure. I don't want anyone in the company knowing about yesterday, she stated coldly. Before you threw me, we could have talked about it, Ma Qing grimaced in pain. Seeing his defiance, Liu Yi narrowed her eyes. She tightened her grip, causing him to cry out as pain shot through his arm, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Do you believe I can make you leave the company tomorrow? She threatened. Through gritted teeth, Ma Qing shot back, you better not let go, or I'll call the police. I'll make sure you have an extra parent tomorrow. Liu Yi chuckled at his stubbornness, despite the grimace on his face. Do you really think I need money? She asked coldly. Do you think I need this job? Ma Qing replied defiantly. An intense silence enveloped them, neither willing to back down. At that moment, a knock echoed from the door. President Liu? Came a respectful voice from outside. Liu Yi remained silent, her icy gaze still fixed on Ma Qing. He refused to relent, glaring back at her. The atmosphere became tenser until they both realized the need for cooperation. After all, each had something to gain from the other. Last night, Ma Qing had been anxious about the class reunion, and now, by sheer coincidence, he was face to face with Liu Yi. Perhaps there was a way she could assist him. Meanwhile, Liu Yi was dealing with her own issues, pressured by her parents to marry. She needed a fake boyfriend to appease them. Ma Qing was conveniently placed to fill that role, and firing him would complicate matters. President Liu? Are you there? The voice outside inquired again. With a sigh, Ma Qing huffed, his stubborn gaze softening. Liu Yi gradually relaxed her grip, responding coolly, "I'm here." Ma Qing stood up, stretching his sore shoulders without a word. Liu Yi walked to the window and opened the curtains, leaning against her desk. "Come in." The door creaked open as an employee entered, file folder in hand. "President Liu," the employee greeted, glancing at Ma Qing. "Mar manager is here too." "Millimeter," Ma Qing replied nonchalantly. The employee nodded respectfully at Ma Qing before addressing Liu Yi. "It's time for the morning meeting." "All right, you can go ahead," Liu Yi said dismissively. As the employee exited, the tension in the room resumed. After a moment, Liu Yi broke the silence. "Let us start the meeting." It seemed Ma Qing's impending termination was postponed for now. Ma Qing left Liu Yi's office, returning to his workspace. "Qing what happened?" Wang Lei rushed over, concern etched on his face. "Nothing much," Ma Qing replied casually. "Did I cause you trouble?" Wang Lei looked apologetic. "I had no idea the new president was Liu Yi." "What does it matter who it is? Our department's performance is due to our dedication, not a few minutes of tardiness. Plus, I'm the sales manager. The finance department shouldn't be deducting my employees' wages without consulting me." Ma Qing shrugged it off. "True, but she's Liu Yi," Wang Lei replied, a hint of fear in his tone. "Who cares?" Ma Qing retorted, perhaps overconfidently. He winced as he rubbed his lower back, remembering the earlier incident. Why does such a beautiful woman learn martial arts? It sounds so out of place. "Don't say that," Wang Lei cautioned. "You're making me nervous. If anything goes wrong, I'll take responsibility." "What is there to fear?" Ma Qing scoffed, then noticed Wang Lei's unusual demeanor. "You're acting weird today. What's up?" Wang Lei lowered his voice. "Qing you really haven't heard of Liu Yi?" "What about her?" Ma Qing asked, curious. "She's the heiress of Xinghong Group," Wang Lei whispered, glancing around. "Haven't you seen everyone talking about it?" "Xinghong Group?" Ma Qing was taken aback. He hadn't realized Liu Yi was connected to such a powerful family. Suddenly, he remembered the middle-aged woman he met yesterday and recognized her from the news. Why would she come to Wanxing Group? Ma Qing wondered aloud. "Don't know," Wang Lei replied, pulling Ma Qing down a bit and speaking conspiratorially. "But there's one thing for sure, 3 years ago, Liu Yi was harassed on the street, and the next day, the guy was forced to whistle at his own mother all day." "Really?" Ma Qing asked, intrigued. "Yeah. Just think about it, how ruthless is she?" Wang Lei shivered at the thought. "Is that it?" Ma Qing said dismissively. "What? You think that's nothing? That's worse than killing him," Wang Lei exclaimed dramatically. Ma Qing pondered for a moment and tentatively asked, "Didn't she, throw him?" Wang Lei gave him a strange look. "You think a beauty like that would know how to throw someone?" "Why not?" Ma Qing said, slapping his thigh. "Her knowing how to throw someone is just ridiculous." At that moment, just as Ma Qing lamented how absurd the situation was, Liu Yi walked into the office area. The chatter abruptly halted as everyone noticed her presence. Ma Qing's last remark, her knowing how to throw someone is just ridiculous, echoed through the office, the sound reverberating. Wang Lei facepalmed, realizing his friend had just sealed his fate. Suddenly, Xiao Song behind Ma Qing seemed to see something, and he straightened his back instantly. "You." "President Liu," Xiao Song said respectfully. With Xiao Song's startled call of "President Liu," Ma Qing caught a faint fragrance in the office, followed by the sound of high heels approaching. She walked right up to Xiao Song. "Did you finish the report I asked you to compile yesterday?" Liu Yi asked, her tone neither warm nor cold. Upon hearing her, Xiao Song quickly handed over the prepared report, responding, "It's done." He then stood obediently to the side, not daring to lift his head. Liu Yi said nothing as she took the report, her icy eyes scanning its contents. Ma Qing stared dumbfounded at Liu Yi, completely taken aback. Half a month ago, he received news that a new president would be parachuted into the company in 2 weeks, supposedly someone significant with ties to the board. However, he never imagined that the woman he had met yesterday, Liu Yi, would turn out to be his boss. Seeing Ma Qing in a daze, Xiao Song quickly nudged him in the waist and whispered, "Mar Ge, Mar Ge." The implication was clear: how could you not greet the new president? Finally, Ma Qing snapped back to reality. "Yesterday," he began. Before he could finish, Liu Yi set down the report, crossed her arms, and turned her cold gaze towards him. "You're Ma Qing," she said. "R." Ma Qing was momentarily stunned by the unfamiliarity in her cold eyes, wondering how she could have forgotten their encounter from just the day before. Liu Yi then glanced at Xiao Song, who was standing obediently, and said coolly, "Mark down his late attendance." Ma Qing felt a smile creeping onto his face, thinking that since they had met before, this new president was actually quite considerate. However, Liu Yi's next sentence wiped the smile off his face. She glared at Ma Qing, her voice icy. "Deduct his salary, double." Xiao Song looked at Ma Qing with a pitiful expression, and though he didn't say anything, his eyes seemed to convey, "Ma Ge, you can't blame me for this. It's your fault for offending the new president." That wasn't all. Liu Yi lazily glanced at the cigarette between Ma Qing's fingers and said, "Also, smoking isn't allowed in the office. Didn't you know?" Ma Qing was at a loss for words. Looks like you do know." Liu Yi maintained her frosty demeanor. "Since you knew and still did it, deduct double." "Xiao Song, make a note of that." "Okay, President Liu," Xiao Song replied, casting a helpless glance at Ma Qing and letting out a sigh. In just a few words, Ma Qing had lost 1,000 yuan from his salary. "Come to my office," Liu Yi said before striding away in her high heels. Ma Qing stood there in a daze, completely confused. Liu Yi's stern demeanor had left him no chance to say anything. Just like yesterday, he had to follow her lead, only to realize they had both misunderstood each other. Xiao Song looked at Ma Qing with sympathy and kindly advised, "Ma Ge, be careful, President Liu has a really bad temper." Hearing this, Ma Qing's expression grew increasingly serious. Liu Yi's exceptional speaking ability had completely exceeded his expectations. His continuous questioning had pushed Liu Yi into a corner, yet she had turned the tables with her clear logic. Through the incident of Wang Lei's tardiness today, Liu Yi neither condemned late arrivals as unreasonable nor permitted them outright. With a simple remark, "Congratulations on having an excellent boss," she swept the matter under the rug. Then she expressed her desire for employees to have their own work styles, concluding with remarks about her own education and character. The underlying message was simple: employees could be late, take unreasonable vacations, or even smoke in the office, but a leader could not be one of them. Perhaps if this had happened to someone else with a higher education, it would have been overlooked. However, since it involved him, Ma Qing, he would be branded as someone undermining the company's culture, simply because of his lower educational background. Ma Qing was at a loss for words. He had been completely deceived by Liu Yi's stunning appearance, mistaking her for a mere ornament. He never expected her to be such a skillful leader. The atmosphere in the company grew complex. Employees who looked down on the sales department were grinning at Ma Qing, their faces full of sarcasm, while the sales staff appeared tense and worried, glancing anxiously at their manager. Liu Yi stood at the front, arms crossed, watching Ma Qing coolly, seemingly giving him plenty of time to think. However, Ma Qing misinterpreted her intent, believing she was deliberately leaving him in this awkward situation to humiliate him, that she wanted him to feel pressure to withdraw. At that moment, someone in the crowd shouted, "A person who got in through connections should just get lost and not stink up the whole pot." Ma Qing's face flushed with anger, but he couldn't respond. Surprisingly, it was Liu Yi who spoke up at that moment. "Connections." Liu Yi turned to the source of their voice, her tone icy. "Who said that?" The room fell silent. No one dared to meet Liu Yi's gaze. "Who here has performance that exceeds Ma Qing's?" "I'll give you this department," Liu Yi stated flatly. With that, the entire room went even quieter. "Are you all saying you can't even match a connection-based hire?" Liu Yi mocked. Ma Qing was stunned, as was Wang Lei. The entire sales department was bewildered. What was happening? If Liu Yi wanted to push Ma Qing out, why was she now defending his capabilities? If she intended to keep Ma Qing, why did she keep bringing up his lower education? As the atmosphere dropped to freezing point, Liu Yi turned her gaze back to Ma Qing. Answer my earlier question, she demanded again. With a resigned sigh, Ma Qing asked, what is your educational background? Harvard University, Master S in Economics, Liu Yi replied coldly. Her casual revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Such a high level of education would qualify her to be the CEO of the main office of Wanqing Group, making her role as president of a branch seem like a waste of talent. Wang Lei nudged Ma Qing, clearly signaling him to back down and stop trying to go toe-to-toe with her. Ma Qing ignored Wang Lei and calmly said, all right, since you're a Harvard graduate, I trust your qualifications will ensure a good team. Before he could finish, Liu Yi interrupted impatiently, get to the point. I have a question for you, Ma Qing stated. Ask, Liu Yi replied calmly. A bear falls into a 4.916 meter deep pit and hits the ground in 1 second. What color is the bear? Ma Qing asked. The room fell silent again. It seemed no one could provide an answer. Liu Yi's icy eyes scrutinized Ma Qing. Though her face showed no particular emotion, she remained silent. This question was tricky. Answering incorrectly would undermine her Harvard credentials, yet answering correctly would be meaningless since it had no relevance to team leadership or performance. However, saying so could imply doubts about the company's hiring practices. After a long pause, Liu Yi finally looked away from Ma Qing, opened a file, and said blandly, Area 2's housing zone will be managed by the sales department, and each employee will receive 5 additional points. With a snap, Liu Yi closed the file and coldly declared, meeting adjourned. After saying that, she walked out of the meeting room in her high heels. Just before disappearing around the corner, she paused briefly and glanced back at Ma Qing with her peripheral vision. Once Liu Yi left, the meeting room erupted into chatter. Although the entire situation had unfolded right in front of them, no one fully understood the intricacies of what had happened, feeling that something significant had occurred, yet at the same time, it felt like nothing had happened. Everyone was left in a fog of confusion. However, one thing was true, Ma Qing and the sales department had benefited from misfortune. Throughout the day, Wang Lei kept dropping by Ma Qing's office, persistently asking what had happened and why Liu Yi suddenly gave the sales department higher commissions and even assigned them the lucrative Area 2. Ma Qing felt overwhelmed by Wang Lei's excitement, as if he were surrounded by buzzing flies, and he said nothing about his situation with Liu Yi. In fact, Ma Qing was just as confused. He didn't know what to say. It felt like he had won something, yet he also felt he hadn't. His emotions were too complex for him to feel genuinely excited. There were 3 hours left until the evening university reunion. Wang Lei burst into Ma Qing's office, plopping down on his desk. He looked at his watch and said, Qing, pack up and get ready to leave. Ma Qing rubbed his temples and weakly replied, you go ahead. What's wrong? Wang Lei laughed. Is it because you promised the class monitor you'd bring a girlfriend to the reunion? Ma Qing sighed again, feeling utterly worn out as if he had aged decades. I say, I can talk to my wife and borrow one of her friends for a day just to save face, Wang Lei suggested while playing with the globe on Ma Qing's desk. Ma Qing, annoyed, snatched the globe away and retorted, forget it, I'd rather go alone. True, my wife's friend might not be as pretty as Yu Hong, but it's better than going alone, right? Everyone knows you have a girlfriend now, Wang Lei argued gently. That's not the point, Ma Qing replied with a frown. The key is, Yu Hong has already met my girlfriend, so swapping at the last minute wouldn't be appropriate. Wang Lei was left speechless, his eyes blinking with confusion. When did this happen? Since you have someone in mind, why don't you just contact her? It's complicated. Mentioning Liu Yi made Ma Qing's head hurt even more, and he waved his hand in annoyance. All right, just go ahead and leave me alone for a bit. Noticing the time, Wang Lei said, all right then, I'll head out. If you need anything, just call me. Got it, Ma Qing replied wearily. As Wang Lei was about to leave, Ma Qing suddenly perked up and added, by the way, don't let it slip about my girlfriend. Wang Lei turned back and gave an okay sign before disappearing. An hour remained until the university reunion. Inside the office, Ma Qing was anxiously tugging at his hair, making it a complete mess. With a loud bang, he stood up abruptly. For the last 2 hours, he had been wrestling with the idea of whether to ask Liu Yi for help. He had stood up countless times, convinced he needed to approach Liu Yi. After all, he had mentioned her in front of everyone. If he didn't attend the reunion now, it would seem unreasonable. He had to go. No matter what, he had to bring Liu Yi along. Yet, he found himself sitting back down repeatedly, thinking of the awkward relationship he had with Liu Yi. Asking her for help at this juncture felt impossible, especially since he would be asking her to pretend to be his girlfriend. After all, she was a highborn lady, and the request felt absurd. It was like inviting humiliation upon himself. It was that he feared getting hit after all. She was skilled in martial arts, but the pain of embarrassment was something he definitely wanted to avoid. Once more, Ma Qing stood up. No way. I have to at least try. With a bear-like determination, he marched toward Liu Yi's office. But as he neared her door, his confidence wavered, and his heavy footsteps became cautious, like a cat sneaking around. No, today is her first day as president. I can't just undermine her authority. How is this any different from walking into a trap? Ma Qing turned around. Halfway back, he turned again. No. Yu Hong has met Liu Yi already. If I end up needing someone to pretend to be my girlfriend and it gets exposed, what is the point of living? I might as well just die. Since it's all the same, I might as well take a chance. Gathering his courage, Ma Qing straightened his back, took a deep breath, and knocked on Liu Yi's office door. Knock. 3 hesitant knocks on the door. After knocking, Ma Qing regretted it. There was no turning back now. Anxiously, he stared at the door, confused. Why is there no response? Did she not hear me? Knock. This time, he knocked a bit harder. After waiting for a moment, there was still no sound from Liu Yi inside. Instinctively, Ma Qing twisted the doorknob. Click. The door wasn't locked, and it opened just a crack. Ma Qing peeked inside, thinking there might be no one there, but he found Liu Yi sitting at her desk, writing something. Seeing this, he quickly pulled his head back, closed the door, and shrugged at the now closed door. He raised his hand to knock again. Knock. At least someone was there, otherwise, he could knock until doomsday. However, even with Liu Yi confirmed to be inside, she still didn't respond. Now, Ma Qing was utterly perplexed. What was Liu Yi's intention? Did she even hear him? He pushed the door open again and peeked inside once more. Ma Qing coughed loudly. Liu Yi paused, glanced at him with her beautiful eyes, and then returned to her writing, coldly remarking, "How uncultured." "Who are you calling uncultured?" Ma Qing was about to lose his temper, but then he remembered he needed something from her. It wouldn't be wise to be rude, so he suppressed his anger. I knocked just now. Didn't he hear it? Liu Yi replied, busy with her writing. Knock again. Seeing Liu Yi focused on her documents, Ma Qing took the chance to roll his eyes at her before withdrawing his head again. Knock. 3 more knocks. But still, he received no "please come in" from Liu Yi. TCH. Ma Qing pursed his lips. Even though he felt annoyed by being toyed with, he had no choice, he needed something from her. So, he gritted his teeth and knocked again. As he did, he started to feel irritated, anxiously glancing at his watch while knocking impatiently. With time passing, Ma Qing suddenly found a rhythm in his knocks, transforming the random sounds into a playful melody. He found a bit of enjoyment in the otherwise boring knocking. However, it seemed Liu Yi didn't appreciate his amusement, as the door suddenly swung open. Startled back to reality, Ma Qing saw Liu Yi, with a cold expression, crossing her arms and staring at him. Are you sick? Liu Yi asked icily. Ma Qing took a deep breath, gathered himself, and shouted, Am I? His sudden shout startled Liu Yi, who snapped, What are you shouting for? Har, I thought you were deaf, Ma Qing grinned. Looking at the grinning Ma Qing, Liu Yi felt like kicking him out of the company. However, she found herself in a similar situation, both of them needed something from the other. In the end, Liu Yi could only turn away with a cold face and head back to her office. Notably, she didn't close the office door completely. While she hadn't invited Ma Qing in, she hadn't outright denied him entry either. Ma Qing was foolish seeing the door ajar. He shrugged and walked inside. He pretended to be casual. You're still working so late, President Liu? Liu Yi remained silent, her gaze fixed on the documents in her hands. Ma Ching coughed awkwardly. Actually, I'm not just a person who got in because of connections, I'm here based on my own abilities. Liu Yi still didn't respond. Ma Ching, now performing a monologue, felt increasingly awkward. No matter what he said, Liu Yi showed no intention of responding. Har he, so President Liu doesn't he talk much, huh? I thought you might have some hearing issues. I was just wondering, how could such a young, beautiful woman be hard of hearing? My grandfather is hard of hearing, he can't understand me unless I shout, and then he tilts his head, confused, asking, huh? What did you say? The old man is getting up there in age, it can't be helped. Everyone gets old someday. When we're old, we might be classmates and patients together. Ma Ching rambled on, intending to ease the awkward atmosphere, but he didn't realize he was only digging himself deeper, making his words increasingly unbearable. Slap. Liu Yi slammed her pen on the desk, her icy gaze locking onto Ma Ching. She had initially planned to let him stew for a few more minutes, but she simply couldn't take it anymore. It was impossible to concentrate on her documents with him talking. Do you have something to say or not? Liu Yi asked impatiently. Yes. Ma Ching saw that Liu Yi was finally paying attention and hurriedly replied. Speak. Liu Yi urged, trying to maintain her patience. Ma Ching feigned surprise, casually saying, it's just that I have a classmate gathering, and my classmates really want to meet my girlfriend. You see, about that. How many days off do you want? Liu Yi asked as she picked up her pen again. It's a gathering tonight at 8, at Xinghong Hotel, Ma Ching mumbled quietly. Liu Yi looked puzzled. If it doesn't interfere with work, why are you telling me? The key is Ma Ching turned his head to the side, somewhat embarrassed. The key is my girlfriend. Finally, Liu Yi caught on, and the coldness in her eyes deepened. What do you mean? Liu Yi asked in a cold tone. Yesterday, I hired someone to meet me at Starbucks, and coincidentally, you were there. I thought the person I hired was you, Ma Ching explained. The gathering is at 8. Liu Yi raised her wrist to check the time. Why aren't you looking for the person you hired? What are you doing here? Yesterday, one of my classmates met you. Ma Ching flashed an innocent smile. Changing people at the last minute, that doesn't seem right, does it? At this point, Liu Yi suddenly remembered that the woman who had been with her mother yesterday was actually Ma Ching's classmate. President Liu, you said it yourself, the gathering is at 8, and time is tight. I really shouldn't be here. So, about that, Ma Ching trailed off, making his intentions clear. Time was running out, and she should be getting ready too. Liu Yi glared at Ma Ching, nearly crushing her pen in anger. So you want me to pretend to be your girlfriend? Liu Yi asked coldly. Isn't that what wise people do? Ma Ching marveled. You really have some nerve. Liu Yi's expression darkened completely. She stood up, advancing toward Ma Ching step by step. Seeing her approach, Ma Ching nervously took a few steps back. No, is that not okay? Sensing danger, Ma Ching hurriedly said, then never mind. I'll just leave. He turned to escape but was stopped by Liu Yi. You're done here, Liu Yi said coldly. I have things to do. Ma Ching shivered and stiffly turned back. President Liu, what do you need? Shut your mouth, Liu Yi said icily. Wait, come on. Ma Ching's face fell. Suddenly, Liu Yi grabbed Ma Ching's arm, flipping him over with a forceful motion, and he crashed to the floor with a loud thud. Liu Yi straightened up, snorted, and returned to her desk to continue reviewing documents. Ma Ching brushed himself off, stood up, and looked at Liu Yi's cold face, thinking that this woman wasn't attractive at all. If you're not going to agree, just say so. Why hit me? Ma Ching yelled angrily. Because you're a polar bear, Liu Yi replied nonchalantly. You're crazy. Ma Ching pointed at Liu Yi, shouting, you really should go to the hospital, something's wrong with you. Liu Yi continued to look at her documents and slowly said, a bear falls into a 4.916 meter cave, hitting the ground in 1 second. According to H equals 12 gt squared, the bear's gravitational acceleration is 9.832. The latitude for a gravitational acceleration of 9.832 is 90, so this place is either the North Pole or the South Pole. Since there are no bears in the South Pole, it must be the North Pole, and polar bears are white. Ma Ching. In that instant, it dawned on him. He slapped his own face. Great wisdom, truly great wisdom, President Liu Ma-ching said with enthusiasm. Get lost. Liu Yi snapped coldly. Xinghong Hotel. Everyone is happy. At the annual class reunion, everyone's face is filled with happy smiles, men are handsomely dressed, and women are bright and beautiful. Classmates gather together and talk about interesting things that happened in college. Time flies so fast. Those who vowed not to get married before 30 in college have become the first to get married, and now they have children running around. Who would have thought that those classmates who don't talk much and look silly in the class would be worth tens of millions after graduation? The fat girl in the class was often laughed at when she first entered school. Who would have thought that she would become so thin after graduation? The girl who was once looked down upon by everyone has now entered society and has become the object of pursuit of many men. There are also those couples who are envied by people in college. Seeing their loving appearance, everyone unanimously believes that they will get married after graduation, but in the end, they broke up. Of course, Ma-ching and Yu Hong are the most regrettable couple among them. Everyone is optimistic about this couple, so why did they break up just like that? It seems that God played a joke on everyone, making everyone go around in circles, but it seems that this is life, right? It is full of infinite possibilities, and no one can predict the ending until the end. When mentioning Ma-ching and Yu Hong, the monitor suddenly found that Ma-ching had not come yet. The monitor stood up, looked around, and asked, "Where is Ma-ching?" "Yeah, he said he would definitely come this time. It's already 8 o'clock, why hasn't he arrived yet?" Har har har. A classmate joked, "I think he is afraid of seeing Yu Hong." "Go away." The monitor said unhappily, "That was many years ago, and he is not a child anymore. What is there to let go of? Besides, Ma-ching has a girlfriend now." When mentioning Ma-ching's girlfriend, Yu Hong thought of Liu Yi whom she met yesterday. Thinking of Liu Yi's peerless face, her heart ached. People are like this, they all want to be the best. Even if they have broken up, both parties still hope that they are the best partners in each other's lives. Now that Ma-ching has found a woman who is better and more beautiful than herself, it seems more like that she is not worthy of Ma-ching, and more like that she has not grasped the excellent man. This matter is very uncomfortable for anyone. However, although she has met Liu Yi, Yu Hong still can't believe that they are a couple. Ma-ching is just a sales manager of a branch of Wanxing Group, and Liu Yi is the daughter of Xinghong Group, a daughter of a chaebol, and an ordinary employee. No matter how you look at it, it's unlikely for the two of them, right? Since the topic came to Ma-ching's new girlfriend, another classmate joked, "Ma-ching's new girlfriend. Bringing his girlfriend to the party, if she can be as good as Yu Hong, it's acceptable. If she can't compare to Yu Hong, anyone would be embarrassed, right?" "Yes." Another classmate laughed, "I have never seen anyone prettier than Yu Hong. I guess he is embarrassed to come." The monitor heard this and couldn't help but think that it was right. It was said that Ma-ching and Yu Hong were completely over, but to say that Ma-ching brought his new girlfriend to see Yu Hong, it was really inappropriate. Originally, he wanted to call Ma-ching to urge him, but when he thought of this, he put down the phone. Wang Lei, who was sitting aside, didn't look very good. He thought to himself, Chinga, why do you have to say that you have a girlfriend when there is nothing wrong?" This made the classmates say a few words, "And your character is almost stinking." "Oh, that's right." The squad leader remembered that Wang Lei and Ma-ching were both working at Wanxing Group, so he looked at Wang Lei and asked, "Wang Lei, you see Ma-ching every day, right?" Wang Lei was shocked when he heard the voice, and said with difficulty, "Oh, yes." "How is he now?" the squad leader asked. "He makes a lot of money every month." Wang Lei smiled. "Where's my girlfriend?" the squad leader asked hesitantly. He was also worried about asking something embarrassing. Wang Lei looked up at Yu Hong over there. He really didn't want to answer this question, but now the whole class was looking at him expectantly, so he greeted Ma-ching's ancestors in his heart and smiled, "There is indeed one." "Really?" a classmate asked with a smile, "Is she pretty?" "Oh." Wang Lei scratched his nose awkwardly and said, "She's just an ordinary girl." After saying this, Wang Lei added, "But she is indeed a good woman who manages the household." In the final analysis, Wang Lei was speaking for Ma-ching, implying that Yu Hong didn't seem to know how to manage the household and was not a good woman. When everyone saw Wang Lei's uneasy look, they knew that either Ma-ching didn't have a girlfriend, or he was far inferior to Yu Hong, and the only remaining advantage was that he could manage the household. Seeing this, Yu Hong pursed her red lips and smiled faintly, because she had seen Liu Yi, and the woman Wang Lei described was not Liu Yi at all. Although she didn't know what happened with Ma Qing and Liu Yi yesterday, it was confirmed that Ma Qing didn't have a girlfriend at all, otherwise he would have come long ago. I have seen her. Yu Hong smiled. As soon as this was said, the eyes of the whole class were all focused on Yu Hong. Wang Lei looked at Yu Hong with a confused face, thinking to himself, that boy doesn't have a girlfriend at all, where did you see him? Who is who? The classmates quickly started gossiping. Liu Yi. Yu Hong smiled lightly. Wang Lei. Liu Yi. The class monitor fell into thinking. This name, why does it sound familiar? Suddenly, everyone seemed to realize something, and everyone raised their heads and looked at each other in disbelief. From each other's faces, everyone realized that something incredible might have happened. The Liu Yi you are talking about, could it be? The squad leader said nervously, could it be the daughter of Xinghong Group, the daughter of a chaebol? Liu Yi. Yu Hong looked at Wang Lei over there and said lightly, he knows. Yu Hong still hated Wang Lei for saying that she didn't know how to manage the household before, and she used this to embarrass Wang Lei. All of a sudden, all eyes in the private room were on Wang Lei's face again. Wang Lei panicked, and kept cursing Ma Qing in his heart, Qinger, you kid just want to talk fast, jump high and brag, you are so good, what can I do with my brother? Oh. Wang Lei smiled with a stiff face, yes, it's her. After saying that, Wang Lei glanced at Yu Hong, and he was so angry that he felt itchy in his heart. He didn't expect this woman to be so vindictive. She didn't intend to suffer any loss. On the other hand, Yu Hong raised her goblet and sipped the red wine elegantly, with a slight sense of pride on her face. Hiss. The whole audience gasped. Ma Qing is a good guy. Yes. We are in a hotel under Xinghong Group. If he comes, won't we get a free meal? Yes, hurry up and call him. This guy has such a beautiful girl, but he is still shy. No wonder he didn't come to the party. It seems that he is really busy. The squad leader looked at Wang Lei and smiled, Wang Lei, you have the best relationship with Ma Qing. Why don't you call him? Wang Lei said with difficulty, seeing that he can do it, let him pay the bill, isn't it bad? Hey. The squad leader said unhappily, don't listen to their nonsense. I have paid the money. How can I let him pay the bill? This. Wang Lei looked embarrassed. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and call him. You have the best relationship with him. It's fine if the class monitor doesn't give him face, but he won't even give you face, right? The classmates urged. Wang Lei listened to the flattery of the classmates around him. On the one hand, he was proud, and on the other hand, he was in pain. Finally, Wang Lei couldn't stand the flattery of his classmates. He gritted his teeth and stamped his feet, and took out the phone. In an instant, the classmates were quiet, and you could hear a pin drop in the room. Ahem, Wang Lei cleared his cough and signaled to the people around him, it's over. Ma Qing answered the phone. Under the eyes of everyone, Wang Lei straightened his back and said lightly, Qinger. There was some noise on the other end of the phone. Hurry up, the classmates haven't even moved their chopsticks, they are waiting for you. Wang Lei said unhappily. There's a traffic jam. Ma Qing said, why don't you eat first? I can't get through this. Oh my god. Wang Lei was disappointed when he heard this. I'm waiting for you. You said you're not coming. Although he said this, Wang Lei was thinking about something else. You're bragging and not coming. You're pretending to be a traitor to me. What should I do? Ma Qing didn't know what to say. Hurry up. Wang Lei said unhappily. The phone was hung up, not giving Ma Qing any chance to get out. As soon as the phone was hung up, the classmates around him looked at Wang Lei differently. You have to know that Ma Qing is not an ordinary person now. He is the boyfriend of the daughter of a chaebol. Wang Lei was so tough in front of someone like Ma Qing. It can be seen that the relationship between the two is extraordinary. Okay, Brother Lei. The classmates laughed, you are so tough. Brother Lei can actually call someone who the class monitor can't call. When Wang Lei heard that he was called Brother Lei, he couldn't help but feel happy. Hey, that's nothing. Wang Lei pretended to be indifferent and said lightly, "It can only be done in private. At work, you still have to call him Manager Mar." The following topics all revolved around Wang Lei, because Wang Lei is currently the friend closest to Ma Qing among all the classmates. Wang Lei responded to his classmates with a forced smile, while crying in his heart. In just 20 minutes, because Ma Qing told him no less than a dozen lies, he was completely on Ma Qing's boat. The two of them had become grasshoppers on a rope and there was no turning back. Squeak. The door of the private room was pushed open a crack, and a thief's head poked in from the outside. It was Ma Qing. The door creaked open, and everyone looked over. When everyone saw that it was Ma Qing, many classmates had already stood up to welcome him. Ma Qing pushed open the door, originally thinking of taking a sneak peek inside. If everyone was having fun inside, he would have planned to run away. He really didn't want to attend this class reunion, or he would have become notorious. But when he saw his classmates standing up and applauding for his arrival, Ma Qing was shocked. "I'm shocked. What the hell is going on?" When Wang Lei saw Ma Qing coming, he quickly stood up and walked up to Ma Qing with a dark face. First he said loudly, "Hey, isn't this our manager Ma here?" Then he whispered, "What the hell are you bragging about? You dare to say that General Manager Liu is your girlfriend?" Ma Qing. Wang Lei put his arm around Ma Qing's shoulders and turned around. His dark face suddenly disappeared, replaced by a bold smile. Wang Lei held Ma Qing and walked into the private room. "Oh, we're all waiting for you." "Yes, yes." The classmates echoed, "Manager Ma is a busy man. I didn't expect that he would still remember us old classmates." Ma Qing couldn't hold back his face and laughed, "I'm too much, I'm not that arrogant, after all, it's just Ma Qing you knew in college. I'm late, I'll drink 3 glasses as punishment." As he said that, Ma Qing raised his glass and drank 3 glasses in a row. Har har har, I didn't expect that Ma Qing is the son-in-law of a chaebol, but he is still so low-key. Ma Qing. Ma Qing laughed on the surface, but in his heart he was thinking, Wang Lei should not know about this, how did it leak out? At this time, Yu Hong, who had been silent, spoke. "Long time no see, Ma Qing." Yu Hong said lightly. "Oh." Seeing Yu Hong, Ma Qing figured it out. This matter was mostly because of Yu Hong. Ma Qing smiled lightly and said, "Long time no see. Where's your girlfriend?" Yu Hong looked at Ma Qing with her beautiful eyes and smiled, "Didn't you say you would bring your girlfriend?" "Ah." Ma Qing scratched his head and smiled, "I was too busy, so I didn't come." Yu Hong's beautiful eyes sank when she heard the voice. After all, she was a woman who had dated Ma Qing. She knew Ma Qing well. Whenever Ma Qing told a lie, she would scratch her head subconsciously. "Really?" Yu Hong shook the red wine in her hand. "Oh, Ma Qing smiled embarrassedly. "It's a coincidence." Yu Hong looked at Ma Qing with her beautiful eyes. Ma Qing saw Yu Hong staring at him intently, and he lowered his head guiltily, always feeling that things didn't seem to be good. "I'm discussing a project with Xinghong Group recently. I didn't expect Liu Yi to be your girlfriend." Yu Hong said with a smile. "Oh, yes, it's quite a coincidence." Ma Qing dealt with it with difficulty, but he didn't know that a layer of fine beads of sweat had already appeared on his forehead because of nervousness. "Is she still busy at the company now?" Yu Hong asked. "Yes, she is very busy, otherwise she would have come with me." Ma Qing said reluctantly. "Oh, so that's the case." As she was speaking, Yu Hong took out her mobile phone and dialed a number. Ma Qing saw this, and her heart became even more uneasy. Who was she calling at this critical moment? Could it be Liu Yi? Thinking carefully, since Yu Hong went shopping with Liu Yi's mother, it seemed reasonable for her to know Liu Yi. "Who?" Liu Yi answered the phone, still with the same silent voice. "Boss Liu, at this time, are you still working?" Yu Hong smiled. "After work?" Liu Yi said lightly. "After work?" Yu Hong glanced at Ma Qing and smiled, "I heard, you should be working. What do you have to do?" Liu Yi seemed impatient. "Oh, nothing." Yu Hong smiled, "I'm glad you're off work." Par. Liu Yi hung up the phone directly. Yu Hong gently put the phone on the table, and her beautiful eyes swept to Ma Qing on the opposite side. "Your girlfriend is off work." Yu Hong smiled evilly, and said, "Since she's off work, why not let her come for a quick meal?" "Oh." Ma Qing panicked. At this time, the classmates echoed, "Yes, since you're off work, come and have a meal together." This. Ma Qing looked embarrassed. Wang Lei's face was completely dark, and he wished he could find a place to hide. "Call a phone." Yu Hong smiled. "Yes, call a phone," the classmates urged. Ma Qing was holding the phone, panicking. "I wanted to call her, but I didn't have her number. Besides." Ma Qing recalled everything that happened in the office with Liu Yi, her attitude, and her heartless "get out." Even if she knew her phone number, would she come back? She should have come earlier, right? Seeing that Ma Qing didn't take the next step, everyone's expectations gradually turned into doubt. A. Yu Hong smiled. "You don't even know your girlfriend's phone number, do you?" Ma Qing said. Wang Lei lowered his body, and his head had already crawled under the table. "Forget it, I'll call her for you." Yu Hong smiled. After that, Yu Hong picked up the phone on the table again. The monitor noticed something was wrong, so he quickly stood up and said, "Forget it, Qing's girlfriend just got off work, let her go back and have a good rest. Our classmates are having a reunion, so let's not invite her. It's okay, it's just on the way, and this is her family's property." Yu Hong smiled, and while smiling, the call had already been made. The phone was connected, but Liu Yi seemed very unhappy this time, and she didn't say anything. "Boss Liu, let's have dinner together." Yu Hong smiled. "I have an appointment," Liu Yi said coldly. Yu Hong was worried that everyone didn't hear it, so she said, "Boss Liu has a dinner party." As soon as this was said, everyone's puzzled eyes changed color again, and when they looked at Ma Qing again, something was wrong. "Are you okay?" Liu Yi was completely impatient. "Since Boss Liu has an appointment, I won't bother you." Yu Hong smiled. Liu Yi hung up the phone again. "What a pity." Yu Hong sighed, looking a little regretful. "Your girlfriend seems to have a more important dinner." The atmosphere was stiff. Some things between adults can be explained by just a few small details. Everyone exchanged glances with each other. There were no extra words, but everyone understood. The squad leader couldn't sit still anymore, raised his glass, and said, "Okay, Qing's girlfriend is a busy person, how can she have time to see us workers? Let's drink our own. Come on. I'll raise a glass." Everyone picked up their own glasses and stood up. Ma Qing didn't stand up, he didn't have the face. The squad leader poked Ma Qing and smiled, "Okay, don't be sad. You let Liu Yi's level of people come to see us, it's really a bit embarrassing for Liu Yi, come, drink." It can be seen that the squad leader gave Ma Qing enough steps to back down. But the more this happened, the more uncomfortable Ma Qing felt, and the more shameless he was. As for Wang Lei, the monitor also glanced at him and said with a smile, "Wang Lei, what's wrong with you? You haven't even had a drink yet, but you've already had too much. Your head is already under the table. Hurry up and get up and drink." Yu Hong looked at Ma Qing and Wang Lei, and her smile became even stronger. Squeak. The door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. Liu Yi, dressed in a professional suit, walked in with exquisite high heels. Some people are like this, born with extraordinary bearing, or inspiring without anger. This kind of beauty, like an ice lotus on an iceberg, transcends people's cognition. This kind of beauty can only make people feel awe, and it is difficult to have evil thoughts, because her beauty and temperament are telling everyone I am not in the same world as you. Those classmates who clamored to see Liu Yi were all dumbfounded when they saw Liu Yi. Liu Yi was only heard of on the internet, and occasionally saw a few photos. But when they saw the real person, they realized that this Liu Yi was ridiculously beautiful, simply indescribable. Snap. A classmate didn't hold the wine glass in his hand, and the wine glass fell to the ground and broke. Liu Yi walked straight to Ma Qing and stopped. Ma Qing, with his head drooping, only felt that the atmosphere suddenly solidified, and then he smelled a faint fragrance. What smell? It smells so good. Is it the smell of shampoo? A pair of high heels stopped in front of Ma Qing. Ma Qing looked at the high heels in front of him. This woman's feet are so delicate. Looking up from the woman's feet. This woman's legs are so long. I'm so surprised. This waist. Going up. Ma Qing blushed. When he saw that icy pretty face, Ma Qing felt cold all over and shivered. Liu Yi looked down at Ma Qing with a cold face and indifferent expression. Occasionally, a flash of cold light flashed in her cold eyes, and that cold light was murderous. You? Ma Qing's face was full of black lines, and he didn't know whether he was crying or laughing at this time. You are here. Although it is a good thing that Liu Yi is willing to help, the murderous intent in her eyes does not seem to be a good thing no matter how you look at it. Yeah. Liu Yi narrowed her beautiful eyes, and the cold light became more pressing. I'm late, sorry. When she said the word, sorry, Liu Yi pronounced these two words very meaningfully, which made Ma Qing shudder. However, this sentence sounds different to other people's ears. Confirmed. Liu Yi, the daughter of the chaebol, and Ma Qing are in a relationship. Confirmed. There is another person in the private room who has a drooping head like Ma Qing, and this person is Wang Lei. When Wang Lei heard this voice sounded familiar. He looked up and saw that it was Liu Yi. The whole person was not good, and his chin was broken all over the floor. However, it was very fast. Wang Lei entered the state. His back straightened instantly. Sister-in-law is here. Wang Lei said with a carefree smile. With the word sister-in-law, everyone in the audience envied Wang Lei. You have to know that the other party was Liu Yi, the daughter of a chaebol. Being able to be called sister-in-law is a strong umbrella of protection. However, it sounded a bit harsh to Liu Yi's ears. She stiffened and wanted to slap Wang Lei in the face. Fortunately, Liu Yi was not an impulsive woman. Despite this, Liu Yi slowly closed her beautiful eyes, breathed a sigh of relief, and then slowly opened her beautiful eyes, and then looked at Wang Lei indifferently. Seeing that this person looked familiar, Liu Yi paused for a second, and then recalled what happened in the finance department this morning. It turned out that he was late for work. So you are classmates? Liu Yi said lightly. When saying this, Liu Yi was fierce, and her high heels stepped hard on Ma Qing's feet. Ma Qing's mouth was grinning in pain and almost screamed. Ma Qing looked at Liu Yi in confusion, with a puzzled face. Why did you step on me? Liu Yi's face was cold. Although she didn't say anything, her dissatisfied eyes were very clear. How big of a fuss do you want to make about our non-existent relationship? Also, it's fine that the company has a junior college student like you, but why did they bring in another classmate of yours? As for bringing a family with him? As for Wang Lei, seeing that Liu Yi was not dissatisfied, he immediately laughed even more happily. Yes, Qing'er and I are old classmates. We even shared upper and lower bunks in college. Wang Lei smiled. Yeah. Liu Yi glanced at Ma Qing beside her and said lightly, thank you for your care. Oh, no, I'm the one. Wang Lei looked flattered. Then he elbowed Ma Qing's waist with his elbow behind her back and raised his eyebrows at her. His mean smile meant, boy, you're good, I didn't expect it. You always say you don't have a girlfriend, but you actually hugged the daughter of a chaebol. No wonder you don't say anything. It turns out that you are worried about bringing public pressure to Liu Yi. Ma Qing knew that Wang Lei might have misunderstood something when he saw Wang Lei's ugly face, but it was difficult to explain the matter when there were so many people around. At this time, the stunned Yu Hong came back to her senses. Boss Liu, didn't you say you had an appointment? Yu Hong asked tentatively. Liu Yi heard the voice and looked at Yu Hong. Seeing that Yu Hong was also here, although there was no special expression on her face, she wanted to kill Ma Qing in her heart. It was just a small matter, and it would be fine if the company's employees knew about it, but Yu Hong was also Ma Qing's classmate. Originally, Liu Yi didn't want to make a big fuss about this matter. It was nothing more than helping Ma Qing, and then letting Ma Qing continue to play her boyfriend until her parents at home gave up that idea, and the whole thing would be a successful conclusion. But now, this matter seems to be getting more and more troublesome. Yeah. Liu Yi responded lightly. But. Yu Hong said. Before she finished speaking, Yu Hong thought of something, and the light in her beautiful eyes dimmed instantly. It turned out that the appointment Liu Yi mentioned was Ma Qing. Yu Hong's jealousy was shattered, and when she looked at Ma Qing again, her eyes became a little complicated. After so many years of breaking up, Liu Yi, the daughter of a chaebol, actually took the initiative to throw herself into the arms of her ex-boyfriend. No matter who thought about it, no one could withstand such a blow. Negative comments such as looking down on others and being blind were instantly pressed on Yu Hong's head. No matter who was right or wrong between the two, at this moment, because of Ma Qing's success, Yu Hong did not seize the opportunity, and all kinds of shitpots would be put on Yu Hong's head in the near future. Har har. The squad leader took over the conversation and laughed. Okay, since everyone is here, don't be polite, sit down and eat quickly. Everyone sat down, and the detail was that everyone's eyes were looking at Liu Yi and Ma Qing intentionally or unintentionally. Liu Yi was sharp-minded. There were many couples sitting here. They were holding each other's arms and acting very intimate. It seemed strange for her to just sit with Ma Qing like this. Ma Qing also seemed a little stiff. People came to help him, so he wanted to act more naturally. But Liu Yi always had a poker face. Who dared to touch her? The scale was not easy to control. If she crossed the cordon, she would be thrown over the shoulder again. Who could withstand it? Liu Yi gritted her teeth and put her delicate hand on Ma Qing's arm. Ma Qing felt Liu Yi's soft and boneless hand and almost died on the spot. Ma Qing. Liu Yi said lightly. R. Maybe because he was too nervous, Ma Qing trembled as soon as he opened his mouth. I don't eat coriander. Liu Yi whispered. Oh. Ma Qing responded with difficulty. Unlike other couples, Ma Qing and Liu Yi are just right. They look affectionate and will not embarrass other singles. In short, their behavior and conversation are very decent. When everyone saw Ma Qing and Liu Yi like this, they completely dispelled their last doubts. These two people are confirmed. Everyone started to use their chopsticks, and the private room suddenly became noisy. While eating, everyone would look at Ma Qing and Liu Yi curiously. Finally, someone quietly discussed the last question. Do you think this person is really Liu Yi? Sure, keep your voice down. The person next to him reminded. At this time, the door of the private room was knocked. The squad leader was puzzled and said politely, "Come in." The door of the private room was pushed open, and a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes walked into the private room with a group of hotel staff. Miss Liu. The middle-aged man in a suit said in panic, "Miss Liu, I didn't know your friend was eating here, Liu Yi didn't even look at the middle-aged man, just waved his hand. Sorry. I'm sorry. The middle-aged man in a suit apologized. Then, the middle-aged man in a suit nodded politely to others, and then took everyone away. When the door was about to close, the middle-aged man accidentally discovered that Liu Yi was holding a man's arm. This scene scared him so much that he almost couldn't stand. The middle-aged man in a suit felt that the matter was serious. What's wrong with the manager? The employee asked curiously. Miss Liu's fiancé is here, the middle-aged man said. What? The whole audience was shocked. Everyone had heard that Liu Yi had a fiancé, but they didn't expect him to appear here. The middle-aged man lowered his head and thought for a while, then said, "Let me see the menu of this private room." The staff in the kitchen hurriedly handed the menu to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man looked at the dishes in front of him, and his face became more and more solemn. Changed. The middle-aged man said nervously, "Notify the kitchen, the chef will cook the dishes himself and serve me the best." All of a sudden, all the members of Xinghong Hotel were busy. In the private room, everyone watched Liu Yi send away the manager of Xinghong Hotel with a wave of his hand. Liu Yi himself was not interested in this aura and calmness. The next scene shocked everyone in the audience. The waiter walked into the private room with the dishes and shouted, "Manager, give me some food." After a while, another waiter came and shouted, "Manager, give me some food." Then, another waiter came, and then, it went on and on. As the dishes were served one by one, everyone in the private room was dumbfounded. This dish, only the chef can make it, right? This seems to be the top dish of Xinghong Hotel, right? In 30 minutes, the table was full of dishes. Everyone looked at Ma Qing, who smiled bitterly and whispered to Liu Yi beside him while scratching his nose, "Boss Liu, you are so thoughtful." Liu Yi frowned and whispered, "You are too sentimental." Ma Qing. Now, everyone finally realized that Ma Qing's face was really not small. You should know that the chef of Xinghong Hotel does not cook easily. This is something you can't eat even if you have money. Because Ma Qing completely opened everyone's eyes, people kept toasting. Has Ma Qing ever been flattered like this? He said that he couldn't drink too much, but he couldn't resist the persuasion of many people. Tun. Ma Qing started drinking. As more and more people urged him to drink, Ma Qing drank tun. Wait a minute. Ma Qing said with a smile, I have to go to the bathroom. Running to the bathroom, Ma Qing opened the door, wow. At this time, Wang Lei also came over, wow. Qing'e, you are good. Wang Lei said with a smile. What's wrong with me? Ma Qing said. What else? Wang Lei picked at Ma Qing's beauty, you mean that, it's a long story. Ma Qing smiled awkwardly, actually, I have nothing to do with her, I just asked her for a favor. Fooling, tsk. Wang Lei pouted and looked at Ma Qing with contempt, keep fooling. Ma Qing. Really? Ma Qing smiled bitterly, why would I fool you, you know my situation. You can do it, right? Wang Lei waved his hand and said, I was wondering how a junior college student like you could bring me into Wanqing group, so you are. It's related. Ma Qing. Today I was thinking about it. You said that Liu Yi, a daughter of Xinghong group, has her own business. Why did she come to Wanqing group for no reason? Wang Lei narrowed his eyes, stared at Ma Qing, and said fiercely, roar. Now I understand, this guy is coming for you. Ma Qing. All right. Wang Lei shook his pants and said, hurry up, we have to drink later. It seems that you are not far from getting married. No. Ma Qing looked at Wang Lei's back as he walked farther and farther away, and said anxiously, you really misunderstood. Ma Qing returned to the private room. Just as he took a breath, he pushed open the door and was hit by a buzzing smell of alcohol. Brother Ma, you are finally back. A group of people gathered around and began to toast Ma Qing. Before Ma Qing sat down, he had to raise the glass. There was really no other way. They were all college classmates and had a good relationship. Everyone was talking about nice things. Ma Qing couldn't refuse their hospitality, so he drank one glass after another. Ma Qing, tons. As for Liu Yi, she sat aside with her arms around her shoulders and began to close her eyes to rest. What she was thinking was, let's finish it quickly. She really didn't want to stay for a minute longer. As everyone was drinking, Wang Lei hugged Ma Qing's neck and said drunkenly, come on. Qing'e. Brother toasts you a glass. Wang Lei's movements were a bit big, and Ma Qing accidentally sprained his waist, and the pain made his mouth twitch. Hiss. Ma Qing covered his waist, his face full of pain. What's wrong? Wang Lei asked worriedly. Ma Qing said indifferently, nothing. You are. Wang Lei looked at Ma Qing holding his waist and asked tentatively, do you have a backache? Yeah. Ma Qing forced a smile, I have had a backache recently. Maybe I'm tired. It's nothing serious. Ma Qing didn't tell him the truth. The reason why Ma Qing had a backache was due to Liu Yi's two beautiful shoulder throws today. You are so young, what's the point of having a backache? As he was talking, Wang Lei accidentally glanced at Liu Yi beside Ma Qing. In an instant, Wang Lei was enlightened and realized the truth. The following words immediately turned into a meaningful tilde. The classmates were not afraid of big things. Seeing that there was a joke, they hurried to follow. Brother Ma, you have to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Brother Ma has the final say on this matter. Ma Qing. Liu Yi. No. Ma Qing hurriedly explained, did you misunderstand something? Everyone's expression was the same, an expression that all adults could understand. No, my waist. Ma Qing pointed to his waist and explained, over the shoulder throw. Everyone had no heart to embarrass Ma Qing, and before Ma Qing finished speaking, they stepped forward to speak to Ma Qing. That's enough. The squad leader laughed unhappily, don't make trouble all the time, Ma Qing is an honest man, this is the injury caused by Miss Liu's over-the-shoulder throw, what are you thinking? After the squad leader said this, everyone paused for a second, and then there was another meaningful tilde. Yes, over-the-shoulder throw, over-the-shoulder throw. Har. Come on. Brother Ma, I'll toast you a glass. Ma Qing. Ma Qing held the wine glass, his face full of black lines, and said bitterly, no, did you misunderstand? Somehow, Ma Qing felt that he might be completely misunderstood, and it seemed that no matter how he explained, it would only make things worse. Liu Yi hugged her shoulders and closed her beautiful eyes. She didn't want to open her eyes at all. 2 hours passed. Ma Qing was drunk. His face was red, his eyelids were drooping, and everything he saw was neon lights. Ma Qing, you are no longer the same Ma Qing as before. I have to call you Brother Ma from now on. Burp. Ma Qing burped, then jumped up, and said with blurred eyes, Hey, don't, your Brother Ma is still your Brother Ma, no, your Brother Ma is still your Ma Qing, eh? How should I say this? Wait a minute, I'll sort it out. Okay. The classmate raised his glass and said, It's all in the wine. Drink. Heh. Ma Qing weighed him with his fingers unhappily, and said with a smile, You kid. Okay. It's all in the wine. Ma Qing raised his glass, tilted his head back, and drank. Finally, Ma Qing got drunk and fell into Liu Yi's arms, buried his head in her chest, and refused to come out no matter what. Liu Yi stared at Ma Qing, who was resting her head on her chest, her icy eyes narrowed, her jade fists clenched, but she still held back. The monitor saw this and hurried forward and said worriedly, Miss Liu, I'm sorry. My classmates have seen Ma Qing for several years and are a little happy. I didn't mean to get him drunk. Liu Yi looked up at the monitor and said lightly, It's okay. He hasn't been so happy for a long time. The monitor looked at the woman in front of her who had never smiled from beginning to end, nodded politely, and said nothing more. Taking advantage of Ma Qing's drunkenness, Liu Yi said calmly, You guys play first, I'll take him back first. Okay. The monitor smiled, I'll take you back. No trouble. Liu Yi said calmly, I have a way. After that, Liu Yi walked out of the private room, and when she came back, she was followed by the manager of Xinghong Hotel. With the help of the manager of Xinghong Hotel, Ma Qing left the private room. Several people walked out of the hotel, and the manager carefully helped Ma Qing to Liu Yi's car. Thank you for your hard work. Liu Yi said lightly. Not hard, not hard. The manager said flattered. Liu Yi walked around to the driver's seat, opened the door, and got in. Before starting the car, she recalled the scene when Ma Qing fell into her chest and fell into thought. How about, chop off his head? Liu Yi pondered. Ma Qing, I can't drink anymore, I can't drink anymore. When Liu Yi saw Ma Qing's behavior, she sighed and decided to let it go. After all, he was not sober at the time. If he was sober, this matter would be another matter. Ma Qing, wow. I can't drink, and you can't let Liu Yi drink, a girl. I drink. Damn it. I drink. Liu Yi glanced at Ma Qing, started the car, and left. On the way, Ma Qing spoke vaguely again. Kissing? Isn't this bad? He. Okay. Ma Qing pouted, looking mean. When Liu Yi heard this, she couldn't stand it and kicked the brake. Squeak. The car suddenly stopped, and Ma Qing's body, which looked like mud, was sent out. Bang. A big bump appeared on Ma Qing's forehead at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huh. Ma Qing opened his eyes in a daze. What's going on? Did I kiss a landmine? Liu Yi got out of the car with her lips clenched, opened the door, and pulled Ma Qing down. Boom. A step on the accelerator, and Liu Yi disappeared. Ma Qing hugged the electric pole, pouted his lips, and kissed it. After a while, Liu Yi's car fell back again. Liu Yi got out of the car, hugged his shoulders, and looked down at Ma Qing, who was hugging the electric pole in front of him. Suddenly, a light was lit on the road in the distance. It was a taxi. Liu Yi didn't turn around and reached out to stop the taxi. Send this man home. Liu Yi said coldly. The driver looked at the drunk Ma Qing and said, Is this man still alive? I'll give you 1,000. Liu Yi said lightly. The key. The driver was really tempted by the price, and his eyes softened instantly when he looked at Ma Qing. The key is whether this man still knows where he lives. 1,000 yuan, you can't ask him where he lives. I think you can consider changing your career and change to a job that doesn't require thinking. Liu Yi said calmly. The driver was a little angry when he heard this, but for the sake of the 1,000 yuan, he endured it. Okay. The driver clapped his hands, looked at Ma Qing on the ground, and said confidently, Beauty, leave it to me. Well. Liu Yi took a picture of the driver's license plate number with her mobile phone and said lightly, If he gets into trouble, I will call the police. Beauty, what you said? The driver said unhappily. Before he finished speaking, Liu Yi got in the car, stepped on the accelerator, and left. Liu Yi returned to her community, opened the door, and walked in. Although Liu Yi's residence was not a high-end community, the interior decoration of the house was not simple, with all modern intelligent equipment. The moment the door was opened, all the lights in the house were on. Liu Yi took off her coat and smelled the smell of alcohol. In addition, Ma Qing had touched this coat, so she knew that this coat could not be worn again. She threw it into the trash can and walked into the bathroom. After about 20 minutes, Liu Yi walked out of the bathroom with a bath towel around her. She sat on the sofa, raised her long legs, drank warm water soaked in chrysanthemums, and reviewed the documents. It was a quiet and pleasant evening, but there was a noise outside the community, and the sound was familiar. Liu Yi frowned, put down the documents in her hand, walked to the window, pulled the bath towel on her chest with one hand, and gently opened a gap in the curtain with the other hand. Through the gap, she saw the situation outside. A man, swaying, floating around in the community without roots. The big fool looked up at the whole building in front of him and shouted at the top of his voice. "Hey! Don't sleep! Everyone, come out and see who I am. Look at whose family I am, take me home quickly. Drunk too much." The big fool said aggrievedly, "I can't find my home." The lights in the community lit up one by one, and the neighbors around leaned out of the window and looked at the big fool in front of them, and couldn't help but smile funny. Liu Yi hugged her shoulders, taking advantage of the bright moonlight in the sky, and looked at the big fool downstairs with her icy eyes with some surprise. What she never thought was that this fool actually lived in the same place as her. However, this fool was so drunk that he could still find his own community, which was not easy. Shua. Liu Yi closed the curtains and ignored him. She couldn't afford to lose face with him. After closing the curtains and turning on the soft sleep light, Liu Yi lay on the bed and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Ma Qing outside was still yelling, but it didn't last long. He was shouting, and then there was no sound. Liu Yi, who couldn't hear Ma Qing's heartbreaking roar, was still wondering with her beautiful eyes closed, why didn't this idiot yell? Could it be that his voice was hoarse? However, it was better this way, so as not to disturb the neighbors' sleep. It was much quieter, and she gradually felt sleepy. However, just when she was about to fall asleep, someone knocked on Liu Yi's door. Liu Yi opened her beautiful eyes and thought, who else could come to see her at this time? Also, no one knew that she moved here except Emilu. Could it be Emilu? The front door of Liu Yi's house was equipped with monitoring equipment, and she could see the situation outside through the LCD screen at the door. Liu Yi stood in front of the screen with her shoulders folded, and looked at Ma Qing outside with cold eyes impatiently. "Why did you come to my house?" Outside the door, the drunk Ma Qing looked at the password lock on the door, mumbling some dirty words. "Huh? Who changed the lock of my door? Password, let me think about it." Ma Qing staggered and almost fell, but fortunately he stood firm in the end. "Is it Yu Hong's birthday? 1996, 6. When it came to the number 6, Ma Qing began to see double in front of his eyes, and it felt like all he could see was 6. He was so confused that he couldn't press the number 6 accurately. Liu Yi in the room listened to the frequent, wrong password prompts from the door lock, and his face was full of black lines. Originally, Liu Yi really didn't want to care about this cerebral palsy, but the cerebral palsy kept pressing the password at this time, and the ticking system key press sound was really annoying. In the end, Ma Qing successfully let Liu Yi open the door. After opening the door, she lazily hugged her shoulders and looked down at Ma Qing with a cold face. It seemed that for Liu Yi, hugging her shoulders was her signature move, elegant and sexy. Drunk Ma Qing didn't know what was going on. She half squatted down, looking like she was taking a shit. Then, with a snap, she put her hands together and prayed, "Open sesame." Bang! Click! The door opened just like that. At this moment, Liu Yi tied her shoulders like that and looked at Ma Qing coldly in a strange posture. Ma Qing was stunned when he saw this, but he didn't feel strange about it. On the contrary, he felt it was natural. Heh! As expected. How could I be so stupid as to use a scumbag's birthday as the password for my door? Ma Qing opened his eyes slowly and saw a pair of tender feet in front of him. Ma Qing looked up along the feet. It was a pair of straight white legs, very long white legs. Slurp. Ma Qing pulled back the saliva that was flowing out. This leg shape. Then, Ma Ching saw a set of black silk suspender pajamas. The top products are different. Such silky pajamas have strength even without wind. You can see how comfortable it is to wear them to sleep. Up is a cold and ruthless beautiful face. Seeing this face, Ma Ching's waist hurt instantly, and the first thing he thought of was to throw over the shoulder. I'm so drunk. Why did you come to my house? Liu Yi looked at Ma Ching with contempt and said coldly, this is me. Before he finished speaking, Ma Ching laughed unhappily. You changed the lock of my house, didn't you? Liu Yi frowned and said coldly, this is me. Before he finished speaking, Ma Ching laughed again. Your platform is really professional. There are related services at night. Ma Ching's words broke Liu Yi's defense, and she finally wanted to kill. She grabbed Ma Ching's arm, and with a quick and neat move, she pressed Ma Ching directly against the house number on the wall. Look carefully. Liu Yi said coldly, this is me. Before she finished speaking, a pair of old men and women passed by here, and they looked at Liu Yi and Ma Ching in surprise. The old lady didn't recognize Liu Yi, but she recognized Ma Ching. This is Ma Ching, the old lady said in confusion. Then, the old lady looked at Liu Yi again and asked, girl, you are? Oh. The old lady's eyes lit up, and she was surprised and said, are you Ma Ching's girlfriend? I was wondering why Ma Ching was shouting downstairs just now, it turned out to be you. Grandma, I am. Liu Yi wanted to explain, but the old lady misunderstood deeply and didn't give Liu Yi a chance to explain at all. The old lady looked up and down at the graceful girl in front of her, and nodded with satisfaction. The girl is so pretty. The old lady sighed, I didn't expect Ma Ching to have such a blessing, it's great. Grandma, you misunderstood, actually I am. Liu Yi hurriedly explained. Okay, don't be angry. The old lady patted Liu Yi's shoulders and sighed earnestly, Ma Ching is not the kind of kid who messes around outside. He probably drank too much at social events outside. Don't be angry, let him go back to their house to sleep, he is so drunk. After saying that, the old lady smiled and broke the banana she bought from the supermarket in half. Here. The old lady kept sending the half banana to Liu Yi's arms, take it, girls eat more bananas. Grandma, I can't take it. Liu Yi smiled awkwardly. It's okay, Ma Ching often helps me take out the trash, I always treat him as my grandson, you are Ma Ching's girlfriend, then he is my granddaughter-in-law. The old lady said with a smile. Liu Yi couldn't resist the old lady, and the old lady looked kind, so it was hard to refuse. Although Liu Yi was cold and ruthless on weekdays, she was actually a kind-hearted woman. She really had no experience in dealing with the elderly, and she couldn't show off her icy attitude. In the end, she could only accept the kindness and thanked her politely. Wait. Liu Yi noticed something was wrong. I was going to explain the misunderstanding, so why did it end up as a banana? With the help of the old man and the old lady, Ma Ching was helped to Liu Yi's home. Liu Yi couldn't say anything. He couldn't kick Ma Ching out in front of the old man, right? After all, he had accepted the banana. Until the two old men left, Liu Yi looked at Ma Ching, who was sleeping soundly on the floor, and sighed softly. It's hard to imagine that Liu Yi, who has always been vigorous and resolute, can only be ordered by ordinary people in front of her. Now, facing the drunk Ma Ching and the two kind-looking old people, he didn't even have the chance to speak. The old man and the old lady outside the door, the old lady recalled Liu Yi's beautiful face, and a kind smile appeared on her wrinkled face. The two old people supported each other and walked upstairs with trembling steps. Hey. The old man said uncertainly, my dear, Ma Ching seems to live in 203. The old lady asked doubtfully, what number was that just now? It seems to be. The old man said ambiguously, 202. Could it be? The old lady said in surprise. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. The two old people met and smiled almost at the same time. I'm old, my memory is not good. In the end, neither of them doubted the relationship between Liu Yi and Ma Ching. What made them laugh was that they were so close to Ma Ching, but they couldn't even remember his door number. People, you can't refuse to admit that you're old. Liu Yi hugged her shoulders and kicked Ma Ching's waist with her bare feet. A subconscious kick accidentally touched the part where Ma Ching was stretched because of the over-the-shoulder fall. Hiss. Ma Qing gasped in pain, but he still had no intention of waking up. Instead, he grabbed his waist with his hands and fell asleep. Liu Yi looked at Ma Qing, who was sleeping soundly, wondering what to do. Otherwise, drag him out. Thinking of a man sleeping in her house, she decided to drag the body out. However, she saw the bananas on the cabinet at a casual glance, and the kind smile of the old lady immediately appeared in her mind. With a helpless sigh, Liu Yi gave up the idea, not because of anything else, but because she was worried that she would be seen by the old lady tomorrow morning. She took the bananas and threw Ma Qing out. This matter was a bit unreasonable no matter where it was placed. As for misunderstandings, it was another matter. However, although Ma Qing could sleep at Liu Yi's house for one night, it did not mean that Liu Yi could accept the fact that a man slept at her house. She returned to the bedroom, put on a simple sportswear, and went out. When she came back, she was holding a bottle of medicine in her hand, which was sleeping pills. She first ground the sleeping pills into powder, then poured a cup of hot water, put the sleeping pills into the water, stirred and dissolved them, and then she came to Ma Qing with the cup of hot water with sleeping pills. Par par par. Without saying a word, Liu Yi slapped him 3 times with a cold face. Ma Qing woke up in a daze. Huh. Meteor shower. Ma Qing was slapped so hard that his eyes were full of stars. It's for hangovers. Liu Yi handed the water in her hand to Ma Qing. Thank you. Ma Qing smiled, the service is really good. Liu Yi didn't care much, she just wanted Ma Qing to drink the glass of water quickly. Ma Qing took the water cup, tut tut tut. Hey. Ma Qing said with a bitter face, why is this thing a little bitter? You drank too much, go to sleep. Liu Yi said coldly. Oh. Ma Qing fell asleep. Now, Liu Yi felt a little more comfortable. Although the doctor did not recommend taking sleeping pills and alcohol at the same time, fortunately the dosage was not large, and with the anesthetic effect of alcohol, Ma Qing slept even more soundly. In this way, there was no need to worry that Ma Qing would see something he shouldn't see when he woke up in the middle of the night, such as the way he slept, or the bra hanging out to dry. Seeing that Ma Qing was sleeping soundly, Liu Yi got up and looked at the water cup that Ma Qing had used in her hand. It can't be used anymore. She threw the water cup into the trash can, and then went into the bedroom to sleep. In the middle of the night, Liu Yi vaguely heard a strange sound, as if it was the sound of a belt. Unsure, Liu Yi slowly opened her beautiful eyes. It was okay to open her eyes, but the scene in front of her scared Liu Yi to death. Somehow, Ma Qing stumbled into Liu Yi's bedroom. He walked to Liu Yi's window, untied his belt slowly, and then held his pants with one hand. What on earth is going on? Is the dosage of sleeping pills too low? Why can he wake up? Liu Yi sat up in shock, her pretty face red, and slapped him in the face. Ma Qing, who was drunk, didn't feel any pain, and muttered, "Stop it, pee. The bathroom is not here." Liu Yi shouted. Seeing that Ma Qing was about to pee, Liu Yi quickly got up and hurriedly pulled Ma Qing to the bathroom. When they got to the bathroom, the problem came again. Ma Qing was staggering and couldn't stand steadily. Judging from this posture, he must have peed all over the floor. A stranger using her bathroom was already unacceptable to Liu Yi. If the urine was all over the floor, it would drive Liu Yi, who had severe misophobia, crazy. Liu Yi scolded, "You have to pee on time." Ma Qing ignored him. Seeing this, Liu Yi gritted her teeth, walked forward, and helped Ma Qing stabilize his body. Liu Yi was not like a little girl. Although she had never known a strange man so deeply since she was a child, she was well educated and knew everything. She knew the physiological structure of men, so she did not show such panic. On the contrary, her icy eyes seemed to be looking at a human anatomy diagram in a textbook, without any emotion. Just, her face was a little red and her heartbeat was a little fast. That's all. Wow. 1 minute. Wow. 2 minutes. Wow. Liu Yi couldn't stand it anymore. You just drank 6 bottles of beer. Why did you pee a box of beer? Ma Qing closed his eyes, fell asleep, and peed. However, what Liu Yi couldn't stand was still to come. In an instant, the clean and tidy bathroom was covered with a layer of light yellow liquid by Ma Qing, in addition to the strange smell that should have been there. Liu Yi was choked with anger. Originally, everything was fine. Liu Yi couldn't stand it anymore. She felt that it was useless to say anything at this moment. She turned and walked out of the bathroom, went to the kitchen, and walked into the bathroom with a kitchen knife. You. Liu Yi looked at Ma Qing coldly and ruthlessly. Ma Qing looked at Liu Yi holding the kitchen knife, smiled faintly, and then fell asleep with a bang. Liu Yi looked at Ma Qing lying on the ground with a harmless face, and hated him with gnashing teeth. She regretted that she shouldn't have given him sleeping pills at the beginning. If she had been more cruel and given him euthanasia, there would be no such things. Because of Ma Qing's getting up at night, Liu Yi didn't sleep well all night. She always felt that Ma Qing was standing at the head of her bed and untying her belt, and she had a shadow in her heart. It was dawn. Liu Yi got up and saw Ma Qing lying in the bathroom. Without saying a word, she stepped forward and kicked him. Ma Qing tilted his body and didn't react at all. Liu Yi kicked him again, but Ma Qing still didn't react. Dead. Liu Yi muttered. Liu Yi squatted down and gently placed her jade fingers across Ma Qing's nostrils. Feeling that there was still a trace of breath, Liu Yi was relieved. I thought you had peed all your life out. Liu Yi said sarcastically. Liu Yi dragged Ma Qing to the door, went into the bathroom to wash, ate a balanced breakfast, and then went out to work. As soon as she opened the door, she saw the old lady who gave her banana yesterday. She was walking tremblingly with a huge garbage bag. When she saw Liu Yi, the old lady was stunned at first. She didn't expect that this girl in a professional suit was so beautiful, even more beautiful than the one she saw yesterday. Oh. The old lady sighed solemnly, as if she felt that the girl was a little too beautiful. Hello, Grandma. Liu Yi said politely. Hello, girl too. The old lady smiled. Liu Yi glanced at the garbage bag in the old lady's hand and immediately remembered what the old lady said last night. Ma Qing, this child, usually helps me take out the garbage. Thinking of the banana the old lady gave her last night. Grandma, let me do it. Liu Yi reached out and took the garbage bag from the old lady. The old lady's eyes were full of this beautiful girl. Seeing such a beautiful girl willing to help her, she was naturally very happy. Okay. The old lady was so excited that she couldn't think of a better word except good. Liu Yi carried the garbage bag in one hand and supported the old lady downstairs with the other hand. When they got downstairs, Liu Yi threw the garbage in her hand into the trash can. Grandma, I'm leaving. Please be safe. Liu Yi said softly. Well, good, you too, drive safely. The old lady smiled. Well, goodbye then. Liu Yi said calmly. Well. The old lady watched Liu Yi get into the car. Well. The old lady seemed to think of something. Drive. Girl, wait a minute. The old lady said anxiously. Liu Yi was about to close the car door, and seeing the old lady's anxious look, she said, What's wrong? Girl, wait a minute. The old lady said. Any questions? Liu Yi asked in confusion. The old lady took out a piece of red cloth from her pocket, turned it over, and it turned out that it was wrapped with an old phone. It can be seen that the old lady cherished this worthless old phone. The old lady took out the old phone. It was obviously very clean. She blew on it and wiped it carefully with her hand, as if to get rid of the dust on it. Then she used her trembling fingers to unskillfully press a string of numbers. Hello, the old lady shouted. R. The other party was an old man. It was estimated that his ears were not very sharp. His voice was full of dullness. Old Liu, my granddaughter-in-law will drive out of the community in a while. You should be careful. We are one family. The old lady warned. The man called Old Liu said, What's the license plate number? License plate number. The old lady looked at Liu Yi and asked, Girl, what's your license plate number? Oh. Liu Yi didn't know what was going on, but still said her license plate number, LE88888. The old lady shouted at the old phone, LE88888. Old Liu said. After hanging up the phone, the old lady looked at Liu Yi and smiled, Okay, girl, you hurry up and get busy. Oh. Liu Yi responded. Although she didn't know what happened, she drove away. Liu Yi's car left the community and was about to enter the main road. When she turned a corner, an old man came towards her. Liu Yi was not in a hurry to drive. Seeing that the old man's legs and feet were not in good condition, she stopped the car. Who knew that the old man seemed to be blown crooked by a gust of wind, and he muttered "Ayoyoyoyo," and then simply fell in front of Liu Yi's car. Liu Yi. This old man's fake fall has no skills at all. Liu Yi got out of the car in confusion and whispered, "Grandpa, are you okay?" Old man, ouch, my waist. Old man, ouch, my butt. Old man, ouch, my head. Liu Yi's face was full of black lines, thinking, if I had known I would not come to such a low-end community, the average quality is really low, there are all kinds of people. Grandpa. Liu Yi pointed to the dashcam in the car and said, I have a dashcam in my car. See if you can get up. If you can't get up, I'll call the police to help you. The old man looked at Liu Yi's car, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he exclaimed, Girl, your car is nice. Oh, yes. Liu Yi said awkwardly, then are you okay? This car, how much is it? The old man asked. Not much. Liu Yi said, the question is, can you get up? It must be more than 2 million, the old man said. Oh, almost. Liu Yi brought the topic back again and said, can you? Before he finished speaking, the old man heard more than 2 million and immediately became anxious. You are rich, you can't hit people, you are a young girl, bullying me, an old man in my 60s, is this reasonable? This is unreasonable. After the old man shouted like this, a group of people came to watch the fun. The old man relied on the crowd and started crying again, you are a girl who doesn't follow martial ethics. You obviously stopped the car, and I thought you wanted me to go first, and then you suddenly accelerated. I was careless and didn't dodge, so you hit me. You attacked me, an old man in his 60s, oh, my waist, my head. Liu Yi. Liu Yi's face was full of black lines, thinking that this old man has done the thing of hitting porcelain more than once, and this set of words is obviously practiced. The old man cried and hugged Liu Yi's car, and he was not going to leave. Slapping the hood of Liu Yi's car, the old man saw Liu Yi's license plate number. Instantly, the old man was silent, and his heart-wrenching and earth-shattering cries came to an abrupt end. Liu Yi, who was over there, raised her wrist to check the time on her watch. It was almost time for the meeting. She looked at the old man who was entangled in front of her. Although she could prove her innocence through the police, time was more important than the so-called innocence. Liu Yi sighed helplessly and took out her handbag from the car. Let's do this. Liu Yi was going to give the old man money. At this moment, the old man's crying suddenly stopped, and then he stood up. The contrast without any signs made Liu Yi stunned. Before she could figure out what was going on, the old man stood up. Are you the granddaughter-in-law of Mrs. Song? The old man smiled. Liu Yi. Liu Yi was stunned for a second, and immediately thought of the neighbor's kind old lady. Now she understood why she called. It turned out to be because of this. After figuring it out, Liu Yi couldn't help but frown, and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hurry, hurry. The old man made way and said in a hurry, Girl, hurry to work, don't waste time. Liu Yi was still a little stunned. Was it the same old man? What? It's going to be rush hour soon. There's a traffic jam. The old man said unhappily. Oh. Liu Yi responded, then got into the car and said, Then I'll leave. Liu Yi was still worried whether this would be another scam she had never seen before. Let's go. The old man smiled very happily, and couldn't help muttering, This girl is so pretty. Liu Yi drove away suspiciously, until the old man in the rearview mirror completely disappeared in the crowd. Liu Yi still felt it was a little incredible. Wanxing Group. At the morning meeting, Liu Yi listened to the various departments reporting yesterday's work performance. When she arrived at the sales department, Ma Qing, who was the head of the sales department, was not there. Where is Ma Qing? Liu Yi asked with a cold face. No one answered in the audience. Wang Lei, on the other hand, had a mysterious smile on his face. He thought his sister-in-law was very interesting. She was asking questions knowing the answer. Where is Ma Qing? Why was Ma Qing late? No wonder Ma Qing was listless all day and complained about backache recently. Seeing Liu Yi's beautiful face, it seemed that Ma Qing had nourished her face. She probably had a lot of trouble last night. Liu Yi noticed Wang Lei. Seeing the disgusting smile on Wang Lei's face, she knew that Wang Lei was definitely not thinking about anything good. Wang Lei, Liu Yi said coldly. She interrupted Wang Lei's thoughts and quickly stopped Wang Lei from making up for those disgusting things. Wang Lei walked out of his thoughts and said, "What's wrong, sister-in-law?" As soon as the word sister-in-law came out, Wang Lei saw that Liu Yi's face immediately darkened. Wang Lei saw this and immediately realized that he had made a slip of the tongue. He quickly covered his mouth and was alert to his surroundings, worrying whether the people around him had discovered something. Fortunately, no one realized anything and there was no strange change on their faces. "Liu. Mr. Liu," Wang Lei said cautiously. "Looking at your resume, you and Ma Qing are both junior college students, and you are classmates, right?" Liu Yi said lightly. "Oh, yes," Wang Lei responded. "Why is Ma Qing late?" Liu Yi said coldly. Puff, Wang Lei couldn't help laughing. "Is there any need to ask this? You know this better than anyone else, right?" Liu Yi's face became colder and colder. Wang Lei saw this and looked like he understood it, as if he was telling Liu Yi, I understand everything, regardless of friendship at work, I understand everything." When Liu Yi saw Wang Lei's mental state, she was so angry that she wanted to kill this cerebral palsy with a knife. She always felt that Wang Lei understood some strange things. "Boss Liu, Manager Ma has never been late. I guess." Wang Lei whispered, maybe he encountered something urgent. "Yeah." Liu Yi turned to look at the finance department and ordered, "Deduct double Ma Qing's salary." "Okay." The finance department responded. "Wait." Liu Yi thought for a while and asked, "How much does Ma Qing earn every month?" "About 30,000 yuan." The finance department said. "So much." Liu Yi lowered his head and thought for a while, and ordered, "This salary is quite resistant to deduction, deduct 4 times." Four times. The finance department couldn't believe what they heard. "Is there a problem?" Liu Yi asked dissatisfiedly. No. The staff of the finance department didn't dare to say anything more, and lowered their heads to start recording. "That's it for today's morning meeting, adjourn," Liu Yi said coldly. Liu Yi stood up, glanced at Wang Lei over there, and said, "Wang Lei, come to my office." "Okay." Wang Lei responded. Liu Yi returned to the office and sat on the swivel chair tiredly, holding her forehead with her hand, feeling a headache. She had only been in Wanqing Group for a few days. Her work did not bring her much pressure, but the pressure in life was not small. What happened in just a few days made her physically and mentally exhausted, especially that Ma Qing. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Liu Yi sighed, turned the chair, facing the door, and placed her hands on the table with her hands crossed, a typical king's posture. "Come in," Liu Yi said coldly. Wang Lei pushed the door open. "Boss Liu," Wang Lei said respectfully. "Close the door," Liu Yi said coldly. Wang Lei closed the door. The atmosphere was stiff, and Liu Yi's icy eyes were fixed on Wang Lei, and she had no intention of speaking. As for Wang Lei, he felt scared when Liu Yi stared at him, and he didn't know what to say. He wondered in his heart, could it be that his boss Liu made her unhappy? Sure enough. When no one is around, you should still call her sister-in-law. Ma Qing is a good guy. He can control such an iceberg beauty. I don't like nonsense. Liu Yi said slowly, I'll be frank. I'm not Ma Qing's girlfriend. Wang Lei was shocked when he heard the voice, and then looked at Liu Yi with a puzzled face. Liu Yi was very satisfied with Wang Lei's state at this time. She explained, you should also know that there is a big gap between my identity and Ma Qing's identity. It is impossible for him and me to be together. Then, Wang Lei said incomprehensibly. Yesterday's incident was acting. Liu Yi said calmly, you and Ma Qing are good friends. You know better than me whether he has a girlfriend or not. The reason why I went to your class reunion yesterday was because Ma Qing found me and he hoped I could help. That's all. Wang Lei lowered his head and fell into deep thought when he heard the voice. Liu Yi knew that this matter was very complicated, so she gave him some time to digest it. After a while, Liu Yi sighed and said, do you understand? I understand. Wang Lei raised his head suddenly, his eyes were firm, as if he had realized the truth, so that's it. Well, since you understand, then go to work well. Liu Yi said lightly. Well. Wang Lei nodded and said, then I won't disturb my sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, you are busy, I will go to work. Well, go. Liu Yi rubbed his eyebrows tiredly. Just like that, Wang Lei left. After Wang Lei left, Liu Yi suddenly reacted. Wait. What did he call me just now? Sister-in-law. You keep saying that you understand, what do you understand? This Wang Lei ran fast, and when Liu Yi found that something was wrong, he had already disappeared. Liu Yi sighed exhaustedly and kept pinching his eyebrows. Buzz buzz buzz. On the desktop, Liu Yi's mobile phone vibrated. Liu Yi took a look and saw that it was a call from her friend Emailu. What's the matter? Liu Yi said impatiently. Early in the morning, you are so angry. Emailu said unhappily. Talk about things. Liu Yi said patiently. It's nothing serious, I just wanted to ask if you are used to your job. Emailu smiled. Not used to it. Liu Yi said lightly. Huh. Emailu smiled unhappily, it's not like you to say that, and there are things you can't handle. I don't want to talk, hang up. Liu Yi was about to hang up the phone. Don't talk to me, why are you so anxious? Emailu said. Liu Yi pondered for a while and felt that it would be better to tell Emailu. After all, he only had such a good friend, so it would be better to tell her and let her help with ideas. So, Liu Yi used 5 minutes to tell Emailu everything from the day he met Ma Qing to yesterday's class reunion with Ma Qing. Emailu. Liu Yi spoke very quickly, and Emailu was stunned for several seconds before she could fully digest what Liu Yi said. What? Emailu's roar came from the phone. Liu Yi quickly took the receiver away from her ear, and put it back to her ear until Emailu's roar subsided. The man you took away that day turned out to be an employee of your company. Emailu said in surprise. Yeah. Liu Yi replied indifferently. And, you attended his college class reunion yesterday? Emailu said in disbelief. Yeah. Liu Yi sighed. You actually let him live in your house? Emailu said. The situation at that time, there was no way, and I didn't want to. Liu Yi said helplessly. My basket. Emailu said in shock. It is hard to imagine that a girl who never swears would speak sweetly after hearing about Liu Yi's experience. In fact, at this moment, it seems that there is no word to describe Emailu's shock. Only swear words can accurately express Emailu's inner feelings. Hey. Liu Yi sighed helplessly. Then. Emailu thought for a while and asked, where is the man named Ma Qing now? Liu Yi raised her wrist to check the time on her watch and said, he's probably about to wake up. You're not with him? Emailu said in surprise. No. Liu Yi said. Is he still at your house? Emailu said. Yeah. Liu Yi said, otherwise there is nothing we can do. The problem is. Emailu said in horror, can he see the things in your bedroom? Liu Yi. On the same day. In the morning. At 10 o'clock. Ma Qing lazily opened his sleepy eyes and was stunned when he saw the strange scene in front of him. What is this place? Ma Qing stood up and looked at the high-tech room in front of him. This layout is similar to my home. Is there anyone? With doubts, Ma Qing walked around the house. It can be seen that the owner of this house is well off, and the whole room is full of high-tech equipment. When he arrived in the living room, Ma Qing saw a huge TV hanging on the wall, and under the TV was a cabinet. On the cabinet was a game console, and inside the cabinet were all game cards. On the opposite side of the TV was a set of large sofas. This TV should be customized, right? Ma Qing recognized the game console, which was the latest model of Sony. The game cards in the cabinet below, how much would it cost? Seeing this, Ma Qing thought, the owner of this house should be a boy, right? When Ma Qing walked into the bedroom, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. Pink wallpaper, dolls scattered all over the floor, and a cabinet full of various anime figurines. Ma Qing changed his previous view. This should be a girl's room, right? And judging from the appearance, it should be a very cute girl. Hello, is anyone there? Ma Qing tried again. No one answered. Ma Qing scratched his head, wondering, whose house is this? Where are the people? Although he didn't know what happened, he could confirm that he drank too much last night, and it was the owner of this house who took him in, otherwise he would have to sleep on the street. Because the owner of this house was not there, Ma Ching didn't stay for long, so he pushed the door and left. After reaching the door, Ma Ching was surprised to find that this house was actually his neighbor. After careful consideration, someone did move next door to him half a month ago. Ma Ching smiled happily. It seemed that he was another good neighbor. After returning to his home, taking a shower, eating a meal, Ma Ching went to work at the company. On their way to work, he met Mrs. Song. "Good morning, Grandma Song," Ma Ching said with a smile. "What time is it?" "It's still early. It's almost noon," Mrs. Song said with a gruff smile. He. Ma Ching scratched his head. "Eh?" Mrs. Song said with a smile, "You have a girlfriend." "Me?" Ma Ching pointed at his nostrils and said, No. Don't tell me the truth. I saw it all," Mrs. Song said with a gruff smile. "Huh." Ma Ching looked at Mrs. Song with surprise. "The girl is so pretty." Mrs. Song sighed. Ma Ching. "Okay, go to work quickly. Your girlfriend left a long time ago," Mrs. Song said with a smile. Oh. Ma Ching was still a little dazed. Mrs. Song left. Mrs. Song was very famous in the community. No matter big or small, everyone greeted Mrs. Song when they saw her. In this community, it is no exaggeration to say that there is nothing that Mrs. Song doesn't know. Of course, as long as Mrs. Song knows something good, it will be spread to everyone in the community within half a day.